Coming up next on the Mikey Martin Show.
I really like the idea of simplicity and like simplicity creating happiness. It's the most beneficial to think about the outcome when you're meditating, but when you're in the nitty gritty, like the day to day, living it between your 7 a.m. and 10 p.m., when you're there, you have to focus on like your tasks. You have to get done what needs to get done. Waking up and falling asleep is the best time to visualize. What you said is the most important thing, is living in it now. That's the key. Like if this is physically possible, I can do it. It was about once a week where I would get woken up from pain. And I found out just by controlling nutrition and then doing these Epsom salt baths, I could sleep.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Mikey Martin Show. I am so excited that we have Evan Myres here with us today. Guys, Evan is an old friend and he is one of the most successful guys that I know. And he's only going to get more successful. So Evan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, Mikey.
Guys, let me do a little introduction of who is Evan Myres before we get started. Evan, he went to BYU, graduated. That's actually where we met. And then he went and he started working, doing a bunch of different entrepreneurial ideas while he was working doing Moxie pest control. And then he decided he was going to go head on into pest control for a while he got his, team built, got some money, failed a lot, learned a lot so that he could become this now new successful serial entrepreneur. And we've kind of been chatting about what that means. Evan, can you just, before we get started, just give him your thoughts on what serial entrepreneur, because I call myself a serial entrepreneur. And anyway, I mean, sometimes people take that a little different.
I love that title for a couple of reasons. One, I think it's funny to call yourself, for me to say like I'm a serial entrepreneur, mainly just because it means I sucked at a lot of things before. I'm not good enough at one thing yet to where I can say, this is the company I founded. Like, this is the culture I've created. This is what I want to be known by, because I haven't created that yet. Right. It's like every serial entrepreneur just hasn't found their thing that they're good enough at yet,
Right.
That's totally. What I find happiness to be a direct product of simplicity, of like commitment joined with simplicity. It's like if you just make a commitment and you stick to it, that's simple, right? But happiness is simplicity. And so like that serial entrepreneur term, I think is funny just because it just means like future thought leader in training, essentially.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Eventually, Mikey, you're going to find something that will be your hill that you die on, like it will be your product. It will be your name. It'll be your brand. But until then, we're serial entrepreneurs.
Right. Which that's how you make it, guys. Like, you got to mess up.
Yeah.
Did we just say it at the same time? I think we did.
Yeah. You got to feel enough to win.
Guys, I'm so excited to have Evan on here because with failure comes knowledge, and with knowledge comes, what we're hoping for is a lot of success. But also it means that you learn to implement recovery properly, because you learn, hey, like one of the things I've learned as a serial entrepreneur is that sometimes I get way too excited out the gate and I'll blast off with my company, when in reality, if I would have taken it a little slower, I wouldn't have burned out so fast. So just one thing to get us started. But anyway, Evan, please introduce to us you kind of your name, your brand, and what's your mission, and just kind of who is Evan and what's his gift to the world.
My gift to the world, I love that. Evan Romney Myres, born in San Diego, came to BYU with big dreams, how it goes. And I graduated in chemistry. And what I found just like being around so many cool dudes, just like very powerful people, guys and girls, meeting Mikey in our business courses that we were doing together, was like how much I love influencing and how much I think people like being influenced. I think it's really cool. And that's what attracted me to entrepreneurship, is to say this company and this brand influences you and changes your decisions, your habits, and your thinking, the way you spend your money, the way you live your life. Like all of that is influenced by these brands that we purchase. And whether that be Tesla, Honda, Taco Bell, Jimmy John's, like it doesn't matter. Like they're all influencing your decisions and how you live your life. And that's cool. And I think I don't know, that's more my brand I see is one day I will write a book and give a speech about this course of how to brand. I love that, of like how to create this beautiful culture that people just love, that we buy into, that people will purchase any product that you release. Like I see that more and more with Lululemon, especially. Like, this is Lulu. I like I'm trying to like okay, so something that I feel I do a lot is I buy super heavily into one thing, and just like I'm Lululemon or nothing, I still wear Lululemon, and then like I'll be like a phase for a year or two, and then I'm like, wow, I am too invested in this company. I need to think for myself, and I like try to get a new company. Like
You're just saying you're like you're gonna die on that hill someday. I'm like, it sounds like you've got some hills you're gonna die on.
yeah. Taco Bell, best fast food ever. Best fast food. Breaking Bad, best TV show. Godfather, best film. And East of Eden, best fiction book.
Wow, guys. Hey, well, we'll hear it in the comments or whatever. Guys, those are the hills that I'm gonna die on. So, guys, that's Evan Myres. Say again.
Name, brand, anything else you wanted me to cover there?
Your mission in life, I guess. Sounds like you're kind of touching on it.
Yeah, like I really like the idea of simplicity, and like simplicity creating happiness. I think so many people live trying and searching for happiness, but they just don't find it for a lot of reasons, for a huge range and variety of reasons. But I think something that's been on my mind a lot is this idea of simplicity, and like keeping your life simple, and not minimalism. That's something else, but simple.
Wow.
And anyways, I want that to be my end all be all. When you think of me when I die, is like this teaching behind simplicity.
Well, let me just throw in one thought to get into that, because so Corbin Church, he's been, helping out or being the head of BYU entrepreneurship for years now. But the thing was, I remember when I came into his first lecture like years ago, and I was like, this guy, I've heard he's really cool, and he gives you amazing stuff right from the beginning. But the first thing that he asks is, he says, guys, we're in an entrepreneurship class. He says, why do you guys want to be entrepreneurs? And he slowly goes throughout the class. And some people are like, oh, like, I want to be my own boss. I want to, make something new. And then he's like, come on, guys, like, get real with me. Like, some people are like, the money. And he's like, yes. He's like, the money. But then he's like, do you know what the real reason, why we do anything is? Like, why we do any of this? And when everybody's like, why? And he's like, to be happy. He's like, the end goal is happiness. So I love that that's your message, because in the end, that's all anybody really ever wants. And we buy into these brands that make us happy. And usually it's not for a very complicated reason. It's usually really simple. So I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of cool things that simplicity breeds, but that's one of them, is like keeping the branding simple. Anyways, that's a separate branding discussion. Huge. But
I love it. Well, and guys, we're going to be starting another podcast. It's going to be called Master Cash, and it's going to be all about business. So we're going to get Evan over on there probably. So if you want to hear the rest of the branding, we'll be over there. But let's get into recovery today, guys. So Evan, for you, keeping life simple and everything, what do you do for recovery? And specifically, what is the tone of it? What's kind of the focus while you're doing it? Like, what do you do, but also how do you do it?
I like that. Have you heard, I'm going to ask you a question to start, but have you heard of Andrew Huberman?
Yes. Dr. Andrew Huberman, Stanford, right?
Cool dude. Really cool.
I love him. Guys, coolest neuroscience guy ever. He's got a podcast. He's got YouTube. He's been on everything though.
Yeah.
Everybody wants him.
Yeah. He's all over the place now. He's blowing up. Just like really awesome, down to earth guy, but like shoots everything super straight. Like, this is the science behind it. And if you want to achieve this is what you have to do. Anyways, so I was listening to him about different motivations, and it was his one on motivations and desires, if I'm not wrong. But he talks about how when you're meditating and when you're pondering, it's amazing. It's the most beneficial to think about the outcome when you're meditating. But when you're in the nitty gritty, like the day to day, living it between your 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. When you're there, you have to focus on like your tasks. You have to get done what needs to get done. It's not beneficial between your 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. to focus on, oh, what am I going to do with this sale of your company, or what's this life that I'm going to be living in 20 years from now or 10 years from now.
Sure.
That's amazing. Pre 7 a.m., post 10 p.m. That's amazing. And so like, that's my answer to you is intentional in the sense of I meditate pondering my outcome when I'm not working. Like that's my
Visualizing it.
process. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the visualization.
How long do you take on that? Is it just one breath in, one breath out, kind of let it see it for a second? Do you get really deep into it? Is there a time of day?
Waking up and falling asleep is the best time to visualize.
I've heard that from so many successful people. Right when you get up and before you go to bed.
There's a lot of science to it. It's because your brain is between alpha and theta. It's kind of that wakefulness is, you're not quite wakeful, but you're not dead asleep, right?
More connected to your subconscious kind of.
Yeah, you're in this transition state. And so being in this transition state, it makes your brain very malleable. And so if you're listening to something as you fall asleep, that's going to be, it's the quickest way to influence your subconscious. And so sometimes I listen to different kind of chakra binaural beats to kind of put my brain at ease and intentionally spur my thought process with questions about my future. Like, what does a normal day look like? Or what car am I driving? How does it feel in that car? Like, what does the shifter feel like? What does the steering wheel feel like? What is the leather underneath what I'm sitting on? What does that feel like? What am I seeing as I drive this car, or as I walk into my front door, or as I park and walk into my side door where I would walk in because I own my house? It's like, what am I seeing? What's around me there? So it's different ways that I can smell, hear, see, feel what that life is, but in precisely falling asleep and waking up.
And you learned that just from like YouTube, Dr. Andrew Huberman, or?
This is slowly curated from different sources, but Think and Grow Rich is a fantastic book. It sounds very material because it is, but there's so much science in there that please go read that book. That's the best nonfiction book other than religious books.
Yeah. Well, and this is really interesting because the thing is, normally when I talk about recovery, and this isn't bad, this is really, really good. So normally when I talk about recovery, people are like, oh yeah, like if I've had a long day, like I'll go like, I don't know, write, in my planner, or I'll go for a walk. And you're like, I'm visualizing and I'm helping myself see morning and night right where I'm headed.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting form of recovery. I mean, it's helping realign you with your goals.
Exactly.
You gain that perspective of where you're headed and why you're headed there. And not just that, but helping you actually feel it and kind of get to experience it now.
Yeah, that's the key. So I can go as far into the science as you want with this, but
whatever you think the listeners will just like drool over.
What you said is the most important thing, is living in it now. That's the key. And that's what like wakes me back up, right? Like that's what gets me really excited to like go tackle a to-do list of 10 items long that you've been trying to tackle for the last month. Is like,
right.
You have to trick your subconscious into thinking that future life is real. And when you do that, then you behave in that way. Okay. So like, here I am now, here's your future life. If I meditate enough times and in that influential brain state, enough times jumping forward to this, then my current body will behave as if I'm here. Thus, this time here, behaving that way, you will be this by then. Right.
Well, and the thing is, a lot of people, especially people who have never done meditation, I want to kind of like give them a break, because they're like, that's not real because they've never done it. But I want to throw out the argument, guys. Remember, like, have you ever heard your thoughts become your words become your actions? This is the epitome of that, because not only is Evan thinking his thoughts, but he's trying to do it at a time when his brain is most influenceable to actually incorporate it in who he is. And so now your thoughts actually do become your words and your words become your actions. This is the key. This is where you start on ground zero.
This is how you do it. It's not as much as you want to pass it off as voodoo or hearsay or not real.
Sure.
This is it. Like, read Think and Grow Rich. Please go read that book.
I love the book recommendations. I think we've had at least one on every podcast, which I think says something. That's kind of telling, guys. So Evan, let's tear open a little bit more into what you do also for recovery. Have you ever had a time when, you had a kind of a more serious breakdown, maybe due to lack of recovery, and you had to really take a big bunch of your attention and just focus on recovering and getting back? You're a pretty high performing dude and you do a lot of prep in a lot of good environments. So I'm actually interested to see if you can think of one, because until about last year, I never even had like a real breakdown. And then when I had one, I was like, oh, this is what a breakdown is like. And I need to devote serious time to actually just recovering. Otherwise, if I just go back to work, I'm going to lose all this progress I just made. And more than that, I'm going to have another breakdown. And so I had to really rebuild myself. Have you ever had anything like that you can think of?
Yeah, let me go into a couple.
Sure.
So recently I did, have you heard of 75 Hard?
Yeah, like literally everyone I know wants to do it. We just had on our last podcast, we had Phil. He did 75 Hard. And now he's into phase 1 and it's completely changed the guy. He's about to go, he's training for a 100-mile race in October.
Yeah.
So did you do it?
It's awesome. And what I think is really cool about it is everybody will tell you this, and this is nothing new, but it's mental. It's just mental strength. And I decided like 6 different times I was going to do it. And I think the furthest I got in was day 12. And this most recent time, so I just finished 75 Hard, started phase 1. And when I did 75 Hard, when I finished 75 Hard, so my 7th time going through it, it was like day 5 or 6 or something. And I think it was something with the diet where I'm like, oh man, I really want to eat this burger or whatever it was.
Sure.
And I just said, no, you know what? Am I going to do this? Yes or no?
Right.
And it, like, when I made that decision at day 6, it was a yes. And then the rest of it was easy. It was literally 69 more days of easy. It wasn't 75 Hard anymore. It was, this is what I do. Like, it's not difficult. When you make that decision, it becomes easy. And that's like, go back to simplicity, going back to keeping a commitment. It's the same thing. Like, it's not difficult. You made a decision. You do the decision that you made. It just takes what it takes. It is what it is, period. And so if you want to start a business, do you want to? Yes or no? It's that simple. It's just a simple decision.
Right.
You want to do something, yes or no? And what drives me insane with myself and with other people is like, I see it in myself, and I think that's why it drives me crazy when I see it in other people. Is like, yeah, I want to do this thing, but shut up and just do it. If you want to do it, then do it. It's just yes or no. And it's like, that's why 75 Hard was so cool to me, because I made that decision of like, am I going to do this? Yes or no? It was a yes, and it became easy. So I bring that up because I did an elimination diet during my 75 Hard experience. Elimination just means I started with 3 days of detox, which was just coconut water and vegetable purees for 3 days.
Whoa.
And then, now I know all you 75 Hard listeners are like, well, let's not gallon of water. I know, because I started on day 4 of my elimination diet.
Okay. All right. I know some of the 75 Harders are like, yo.
Yeah, it's like there's the 3 days of detox that were before, and then day 1 of 75 Hard from there on out.
Got it.
And so I did 3 weeks of this there's a very particular list of only these foods I was eating. They were all anti-inflammatories, all organic. It was all very simple vegetables that I cooked in my home with only given oils, like only olive oil, coconut oil. And the whole point is to say, I want my body back to normal. Like I want to get it to this base functioning. So my intestines are down, so are calm, are super tender, like, so you react to something. And so then you take 3 days to introduce beef or eggs or milk, but you start with something really easy like cashews and almonds. And then you move on to potatoes, you move on to tomatoes, and you move on to et cetera, et cetera. And so you're taking these 3 days of each introduction to see how your body reacts. And so by the time I finished 75 Hard, I was very in tune with how my body and bowels reacted to different things.
Bro, this is like it's a perfect example of somebody taking physical recovery
Exactly
seriously. Let's just point that out.
That's why I think like recovery, people dish off like your diet. People dish that off as inconsequential, and you can't
sleep, your diet, your exercise.
You cannot
all the things that could be physical.
Exactly. And so much of mental is because of physical, and vice versa. And vice versa. So if you can control your physical, which is much more easy to do than controlling your mental, is controlling your physical first and then your mental.
Right.
I think is the key. But anyways, so by the end of 75 Hard, recovering from nutrition was my key. There was like, I want to understand how my body works and what makes me not feel good, makes me feel groggy, makes my bowels not work as well as I want them to, makes me feel bad, et cetera, et cetera. But something that I couldn't figure out recovery wise was like, why do I get these body aches? Like, it feels like I still have growing pains, like from high school, like pretty frequently, but the nutrition didn't change that. So I said, okay, what else is there? And so I started taking Epsom salt baths, and I realized if I take a really hot Epsom salt bath, it goes away. And so I had to take, so I'm taking 20 minutes out of my nights to take a hot bath along with the cold shower in the mornings of that 5-minute cold shower from phase 1. And then doing that, the 20 minutes of a hot Epsom salt bath. And so the reason I bring that up is because I kept hitting like this wall of about once a week, I couldn't sleep. Just because my joints would ache so bad, like mainly my knees and elbows. So like here and then on the back side of my knees would just ache so bad. It would wake me up and I couldn't fall back to sleep for hours. And so I'd have to walk around or do push-ups or stretch or do jumping jacks. It's like 3 a.m., right? And I'm doing push-ups, like trying to get back to sleep doing push-ups because it like lets the aching go away. It's this really weird thing. Anyways,
that is so rough.
It was about once a week where I'd get woken up from pain. And I found out just by controlling nutrition and then doing these Epsom salt baths, I could sleep. And it's like, that was really cool about recovery.
Well, that's the thing. Let me just comment really quick. There's so many things. I've got a couple friends that are like super to the end of the spectrum where they're like, caveman, like doing all the supernatural stuff. But like, guys, there are so many natural remedies that if you'll just take some time and pay attention to your body and try out a few things, that you can solve a lot of your problems and enhance your performance a lot. I mean, the thing that I love about, first off, every result that Evan's getting is coming from his mentality of commitment and simplicity. Commitment is simple and simple is happy.
Exactly.
That's Evan. And so the fact that he's going in and he's committing, I was writing down here, I was like, I've been a small business mentor for a long time, but I can't tell you how many people, they tell me they have a great business and they're so excited, and then, life. And so they can't do it. They find excuses all over, but Evan's committed. And more than that, he's got his priorities right. He's taking care of himself first and making sure that he's good so that he can eventually become this person of influence and help the world. So anyway, I think it's awesome. Keep going. 75 Hard, phase 1, whatever you want.
So that was awesome. So that's why I think you should do 75 Hard, is because of the mental aspect behind it of mental toughness. I know that's like a kitsch phrase nowadays because too many people say it, but it's true. Like you have to be mentally tough. You have to say, I'm going to do this thing and actually do it, you know?
How many people would love to have the special power of actually being able to do what they say? I mean, it's like, if you can do 75 hard, guys, I think everyone's going to have to just sign up. I mean, I'm actually curious, Evan, let me ask you really quick, because I was going to say, if you can do 75 hard, you can do anything. And the reason is because, again, it starts with your thoughts, goes to your words and actions. If you can get to the point where your brain just dictates what you do, I've got a quote I read every morning that says, if a man's ruled by his mind, he's a king. If by his body, a slave. So, but I want to know, because I'm assuming it's your environment. You're hanging around high performing guys that are all doing good stuff, girls too. I want to know why you tried 75 hard 7 times. What kept you coming back? Like, how many of you have something you've given up 6 times on and then you come back and actually do it? I mean, what was it that made you want to do this so bad?
That feeling of this is something I can't do. I'm like, nah, come on.
Self-competition, maybe?
Yeah, it was just, if somebody else can do this, I can do it too.
Yeah.
You know, like if this is physically possible, I can do it. And I want to like just prove to myself that I can do it. And that was kind of it, was proving to myself that I am that man. And something that really helped was getting married, of saying like, I am that man, and I want my wife to also see that I am that man, you know?
Absolutely.
So it was both, it was proving to myself as well as like proving to her that like, no, I do what I say. I am an honest man. I'm integritous, and all these dreams that we've talked about, I'm going to make happen.
I'm going to deliver.
Exactly. I'm going to deliver.
Right.
Because look, I did this. I said I was going to do it for 75 days, and I did it exactly.
Right. And the fact that you can do it without one mistake literally proves you can do anything.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're mentally tough enough to say, I'm going to do this thing, even if it's cold outside, even if it sucks, even if I wake up tired,
especially if it sucks. That's 75 hard mentality. You guys are like, I want it to be cold. I want the snow. Like, if I'm running outside, can it please be raining? It's like bizarre. Your brain begins to start doing that David Goggins stuff where you're like, oh, I want it to suck more because it means I grew, or I was stronger than the storm, or whatever it is, proving to yourself that you're making real progress that day, kind of thing.
Yeah. Mikey, I'm gonna send you a book, but if I send it to you, you have to promise to read it. It's called Comfort Crisis.
Oh, I'll read that.
Okay.
I'll read that. I'll put on the list. Guys, I've got my list. I don't know if you guys know, I'm reading 1 book a week right now. Right now I just finished Why We Sleep, and now I'm starting.
Fantastic.
Well, I actually kind of already am most of the way through this, but I decided to start over from the beginning. It's called $100 Million Offers, Alex Hormozy. It's probably the best book on sales I've ever read. Just came out, but it's like, I want to reread it because I want to actually apply it to my business as I go through it. But yes, I will read that. That sounds awesome. But Evan, I want to ask you, just because this is one of the first real podcasts that we've talked a lot about physical recovery. So I want to just, it doesn't have to be long, but like, what's kind of the idea behind the Epsom salt baths? What's the idea behind the cold showers? And also your diet. Have you found anything that you think that's particularly interesting that the listeners would want to hear about that?
By no means am I an expert in any of these realms.
Right.
I've just read some studies and experimented on myself. That's kind of where I'm at. But Epsom salts, I understand that it helps your muscles, and like that was all of the info that I needed to give it a shot and to try it on my body. And if Epsom salts didn't work, what I had next was like muscle relaxing cream. And then I was going to try muscle relaxer pills, was because I knew like these aches were coming from my muscles. It's not my joint. It's not the balls in my joint. It's not the sockets that are doing that, but it's my muscles that are waking me up from this achiness. Wow. And so I knew that it was my muscles because I can move my joints fine, right? They're not creaky and old yet. I don't have arthritis. So I knew it was muscles. and I had heard of Epsom salts before. So I looked it up, like how long should I Epsom salt bath if I'm going to do it? And it's for recovery, and pre and post, I've seen both Epsom salts work well, but that's kind of all I know. I don't know.
That's okay.
Other than that. And so I tried it, and
for muscle relaxation kind of thing.
And it worked really well, and it fixed my problem. As for nutrition, I think the less dairy and the less meat that you eat, the happier you will be.
I think most people have experienced that.
Yeah, especially red meat for whatever reason. Again, don't really know the science. I've just heard a lot of things. If you want to go into health documentaries, I can give you 5 or 6 that are fantastic. But
maybe we'll put some links below if you guys are interested.
Start with What the Health. That one's great.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, red meat and dairy, just my body does not do well with. They tear me up.
Sure.
And it's not
sorry.
It's not like debilitating. It's just my body functions better without those things. That's it. I'm not saying they cause cancer. They do, but but my body does function way better without them. So red meat, dairy, and actually nightshades, if you know what those are. It's like tomatoes, bell peppers, and potatoes are all nightshades. And I had heard Tom Brady say that because I read Tom Brady's book. It's like yay big, TB12 method. And he said he never eats nightshades, and among other things. And I thought it was just like, I thought it was fake. You know, I was like, it's just you just don't like tomatoes, and so you cut them out. But my body doesn't do well with nightshades either.
Interesting.
So that's just me from experimentation. And again, it just takes dedication. It takes commitment. It takes willpower to just test something long enough to get a result, right?
Right.
And that's something that one of my boss here at Moxie says a lot is you just have to try it long enough to see the result. And then you will know whether the result is good or bad, but you actually have to try it long enough to know.
Well, and if you see good results, like that's the most addictive thing I know. Like you go to the gym and you start seeing good results, you're like, I like it now. Like you suddenly, your mind shifts all of a sudden.
Yeah. You look really good and you want it, and so you keep doing it. But that's just me of experimentation with nutrition. And cold showers is ice bathing, going to Provo River and getting in right now because it's freezing outside. Amazing for you.
So good.
Amazing. And so the science that I understand behind that, the little that I know, is it spikes your fight or flight response, which helps create more white blood cells in your body. So there's less inflammation, there's less disease, there's less sickness. Oddly enough, by taking cold showers, cold as it can go, it helps all of your physical function because of spiking those white blood cells. But it also alkalinizes your body. So by slowing down that blood pumping, it forces more oxygen to be produced. Right. And when you warm back up, the oxygen's flowing everywhere back into your body. So there's more oxygen in your blood, which alkalinizes your body. And so I saw that from the TB12 method. So this isn't just like one source. I never base anything on just one source, but this is me seeing it from Andrew Huberman, from this guy that Andrew Huberman interviewed, from his studies, from the TB12 method, from Wim Hof. Like there's multiple different sources for everything that I'm telling you.
Super serious, real research, guys. And not just, I mean, the fact that you get more oxygen in your cell, I mean, at a cellular level, it's busting your body, but it's like you have more energy, better focus. And for those of you that are trying to lose weight, it creates more brown fat, which is a lot easier to burn. I mean, it's hard to make a list of all the benefits that come from this cold exposure.
Something else that's really cool is your stress levels. And so everybody's like, oh, how do I handle stress? Oh, I'm so stressed.
Go jump in a frozen lake.
Exactly. No, and the science behind it is if you're able to push yourself into a fight or flight response, into this extremely physically stressful environment, which is freezing cold.
All your brain is screaming at you is get out of the water.
Exactly. And then you relax.
And then you tell your body, no.
Yeah.
I'm in charge. We're staying here.
That is so powerful to your ability to handle stress.
Huge.
Mm-hmm.
It makes your body go, oh no, we're in a panic state. And then you go, oh no, I'm telling you, we're good. And so then throughout your day, if you have stress come up, your body immediately goes, wait, we need to check with the boss. We might be good. We don't know.
Good. And you just stop recognizing stressors as stressors.
Absolutely. You get more desensitized kind of thing. You just get used to it.
Yeah, mental toughness, callous the mind. So there's a lot of there's a lot of cool science behind all that. But
bro, thank you. It's such valuable stuff. People don't know it, or they, maybe they don't want to know it because they're just like, cold showers is a no. Guys, if cold showers is a no, just start with a little, work your way down. Focus on your breathing. Don't focus on the water.
Exactly.
Just some people do like squats in the shower so that it takes their mind off of it. Like whatever you got to do. And honestly, it's the first 2 minutes are the worst, and then after that, you're good.
Yeah.
Like your body just kind of goes. It's a numb feeling, is what they say, but it's kind of almost like you're warm again. And so make it 2 minutes. Do what Evan said. I mean, recognize the benefits. I mean, and let's be real. I mean, if you can make it 2 minutes in the water, kind of like 75 hard, you can do anything. Like you can make it longer. And then you get in that mindset of pushing yourself. Ooh, dangerous. You might actually get successful. You better watch out there. Okay, wait, Evan, did you have anything? I want to move on unless you got something else.
Yeah, I feel like this is going to sound harsh, but it's just true. Like if you're not willing to do that, or even to attempt like a cold bath or cold shower or jump in a freezing lake and stay in it for 2 minutes, like if you can't do that, then just kind of cross off the $100 million net worth off your list. Like it just won't happen.
Right.
And so there's certain things that like bring each other. And I know it's simple, but taking a freezing cold shower, as cold as it can go for 5 minutes, getting in the Provo River, that's ice right now, that also breeds success. So if you're not willing to do that, then cross off these other huge goals because you're not going to get them.
Well, and a lot of people will go jump in the river when they have friends that are jumping in the river.
Exactly. Oh, that's so cool.
It's all your environment. It's if you're hanging out with, are they pushing you in a good direction or a bad direction? Peer pressure is great if they're pushing you in a really good direction.
It's awesome. You should have peer pressure. That's good. Anyways.
That one got you fired up. That was good.
you should, that's my recovery from Epsom salts and nutrition. It's just like, what works on your body,
And you're feeling better. And well, guys, and let's just point out with 75 hard, you're doing 2 workouts a day. Like Evan's doing baths, he's doing cold showers, he's getting, and again, not eating a lot of meat and stuff like that. That's a very good, it's what my dad calls an anti-inflammation diet. Exactly. Again, it helps your body fight anything like cancer or even just your regular sickness. And so getting in the cold shower, eating less meat, keep your protein up, but just recognize what you're doing and why you're doing it. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah. So quick tidbit. If you've never read the Bible, read Genesis 1 and get back to me. But how did God create the world? He said, quote, God said, let there be light.
Right.
It doesn't say God grabbed light particles and formed a sun, right? It's by the power of his word. And that's what's really cool about 75 Hard. It just like helps you gain confidence in your own word.
Well, and guys, if you don't believe that, just go, I don't want to sound like a crazy guy, but go yell at yourself in the mirror. It's like, just tell yourself who you're going to be, because there is something inside of you deep down. If we're going biblical, dude, I've actually got a term for it. I call it your little I am, because God says he's like, I am that I am. He is the I am. And I'm like, there's a little God in each of you that's your little I am. And that's kind of the thing behind your brain, behind your emotions, that's you. And that part of you, it knows what you're meant to do. It knows who you are. And the thing is, whenever you're living a life that's contrary to that, that's why you feel unfulfilled. That's why you feel the pain, because you're not being true to you, the real you inside. And the thing is, if you need to change that, one of the easiest ways, your words. Tell yourself in the mirror, I can get in the river. I love getting in the river. I'm crazy about the river. The river is my happy place. And guys, the more you do it, the more you fire and rewire all those neural pathways in your brain, and you will love the river.
You will.
Your words. It's
funny
huge.
that Christ says I am before, during, and after he comes to the earth, and he's still using I am. And that's really fascinating because there's also science behind that. And so that's anyways, we can get into that later. But instead of I'm going to, you say I am, or I already am this person, you know. And
It's the visualizing.
Yeah.
Bro, we're circling back so much they don't see it coming.
Just one
circling back, guys, visualizing who you're gonna be and then speaking as that person. I want to actually drop something that I want to put in one of my books. Nobody steal it. Just kidding. Steal it. Take it to the whole world. I think it's one of the best things ever that nobody does. I will have conversations with my future self. And I think that nobody's ever thought of this. I could be totally wrong. There's probably videos out there everywhere. But guys, when you have a talk with your future successful self, all of your worries go away. All of your any hesitation you have, gone. Any because the thing is, when I'm talking with my future self and he's worth a couple billion and he's changing the world and saving lives, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And he's like, dude, like, you already did it. And I'm just like, oh okay.
yeah.
Like, but it's like, guys, those talks, they help you actually get to a point where you're like, you're serious? Like, I actually jump in the river? And he's like, every day, man. Like, you love the river. Like, the river actually isn't even the craziest thing you've done. I mean, you did 75 hard, and then you turned into Evan or Phil from the last episode, and you went and ran 100 miles. And like, you just begin to see yourself as so much more, and that your potential isn't just in your head, but it's destiny. So have those conversations, get your words out, listen to Evan. You guys will get there.
Or read Think and Grow Rich.
Read Think and Grow Rich. That's the place to start. Okay, well, let me ask you, how old, because you've been doing this a long time and you've been succeeding for a long time. Guys, he drives a nice car. He's got a beautiful wife, beautiful brand new baby. Congratulations.
Thank you.
He's just killing it at life. So I want to know, how old do you think you were when you started implementing recovery? Was it something that your parents had as part of your family?
That's routines? So cool. That's so cool.
Like, how old do you think you were when you started doing this? Because I think there's some correlation to, if you start doing this early, you run into less trouble and you're more successful.
So I'm gonna go back to like the same recovery tool, but that visualization.
Huge.
I think we've talked about this a couple of times, but just over our friendship. When I was little, like, I knew I wanted to create things. I used to draw diagrams of houses a lot. I'm like, yeah, I want to be an architect. That sounds cool. And so like in my spare time, I like draw really cool houses. Did one that was like an octagon, and one like that was a triangle, and
cool.
Houses that I thought would be really cool. But then also I was like, yeah, actually architects don't make a lot of money. I was like, I want to be a doctor because they make a lot of money. And so I'd start thinking about like my life in the future of like, what do I want? And who do I want to be? And like, what kind of man is that? How much money am I making? And it became like my mental playground was like this future self,
Nice.
And like it becomes recovery in the same sense that we described it before, is like this visualization of like living in the future, living in this world of sight, sound. What does it feel like? What am I saying? What's being said to me? How many people are in the stadium that I'm giving a talk to? Like what does this look like? And living in there. And so my answer to the question of like, how long have I been doing that? As long as I could remember, of like,
right.
I want to be rich, and I want to.
I want to just clip that part. And I want to be rich, like
super fabulously rich, and that comes with like a family that's scrimped and saved, and we cut coupons a lot, and we never bought anything that was full price, like ever. And
yeah.
I think that's why I liked Lululemon so much when I did, was because it was really expensive, and I was like, I finally have the means to do that for myself, and I don't have to go to a sale rack. And
Mm.
but my wife is fantastic at saving money and
Right.
using sales racks, using coupons and rebates. She loves that, and that's awesome, and that's very helpful to me, to our cause.
Sure.
But I think it just comes from like seeing both sides of like seeing the coupon cutting side, and also now me meeting fabulously rich people, a lot of them through Mikey, and thinking like, what is my future life and what do I want? What does my house look like? And drawing up a blueprint of the house that me and my wife designed and saying, this is the house we're building. This is it. And so when I do meditations, I have on my wall at home, there's the blueprint of the interior of our house, and there's the satellite view of the lot that we own and what else is on it, you know? And so there's both those things are there. Anyways, there's a lot more stuff there, but those are really cool to me. And that house and that life, that's what I'm visualizing is that house that's on my wall that we drew together, that we designed together. And so when we both visualize, when we both think about our lives in the future, we're both thinking about the same house, the same cabinets, the same kitchen window, the shape of it, how big it is, what kind of sink it is, what color is the sink, what color is the vent, what color is the couch, where's our couch, how big is the TV, where is it? It comes up from the ground, by the way. Like, it's really cool.
In case you're wondering, it comes up from the ground. Guys, give it a few years, we'll get a full video for you. You'll see the house. Guys, but this is a key thing from a top performer. If you want to build a house correctly, you make a blueprint. When you want to build a life correctly, you visualize that blueprint of your life. And it's
the exact same thing. You build a blueprint and you write it out. You do the exact same thing as you build the house. It's the same thing. It's one eternal round, Mikey. It's one eternal round. It's simple. It's easy.
Well, and guys, you wouldn't believe how common this is around top performers. Like, and I mean, I've tried to do it with people. I've got a 3x5 card that I sketched out my future, like, super hangout garage. I put on my wall. I look at it literally every morning. And I visualize exactly where it's all going to be. I'm taking notes every day on what I want my house to look like and I try and visualize walking in the front door and, oh, how are we going to change it up during the holidays? Do I need to add spaces for different decorations or whatever? Like, guys, Evan's the king of this. I'm going to get better at it. Evan, is there anything that you do meditation wise that's not visualization? Any other mindfulness practices? Any other kind of meditations?
I'm no expert. Breathing is very important. I don't understand that fully. That's on my list to.
Sure.
This is something really cool, but I created a CEO curriculum. So like, I wrote out what I want to learn to become the CEO that I want to be. And
that's so cool.
Instead of going to an MBA, which is also awesome, it's also great. I took a lot of my curriculum from an MBA course at Wharton School of Business, but that's on my list of like to study and
sure.
But breathing's very important. I do some
part of the roadmap, part of the blueprint,
just write it out. And so I do breathe along with doing that visualization, specific breathing, but
nice.
Wim Hof, just look up Wim Hof and he'll speak to that.
Yeah. Wim Hof, guys, WIM Hof. He's a really cool guy. He's got like 20 world records, mostly around cold exposure, but also around breathing. Things like that.
Breath.
Super cool guy.
Yeah, he's sweet. So I look him up, look up Wim Hof breathing. I'm no expert there, but.
Sure. No. Well, and the thing is, most people do meditation as some sort of preparation for the day. The visualizing is very good for preparation. You were saying you do a lot of other things like the cold showers, making sure you got your diet right, and just kind of scheduling. Is there any other, because I believe preparation really helps us to need less recovery because there's a lot less resistance and struggle throughout the day, a lot less stress. Is there any other preparation that you haven't mentioned yet that maybe listeners might want to hear about?
Yeah. I'd say take notes on thoughts and impressions, ideas. Just keep a note tab in your phone. Like, please do that. Mikey's really good at that. I see you do that.
I do it a ton.
So I've been trying to be more meticulous about the folders of notes that I have, where my plans are, where my ideas are. So just like keeping those better organized.
Sure.
It just kind of leads back to that preparation, but like keep track of your impressions, keep track of those ideas, keep track of your business ideas that you have, and write them out, expound upon them. If it doesn't work, great, erase them. But like, keep thoughts, keep them, write them down, because those are a divine intervention with your life. Those are small miracles just gifted to you.
Let's just point out, I mean, whatever you guys believe in, we're pretty faithful. We believe in God, and it's like, we really, I mean, I had kind of a mentor guy that told me once, he was like, look, if you pray for help or guidance or something and then you receive an answer, he's like, write it down, because
better write it
down. Why would God send you more if you're just going to ask and then forget it? Yeah. And he was like, write it all down. And guys, just like Evan said, like, I write down all these things, but I try to write them down. For me, it works the 3x5 cards, because I keep them until they are fulfilled or I throw them away.
Yep.
And I'll find ones later, like a stack of old ones, and I'll be like, oh, I accomplished that. Oh, I accomplished that. And it's because I'm following that divine kind of whatever guidance you want to call it.
Yeah. I do physical when it's more like tasks that I need to do.
Sure.
I write down things that I need to do. On my phone, I have different notes of different businesses or different ideas or things from like the CEO curriculum that I like to take notes on. It's just different things that pop into my mind for the future, like not act now and do. It goes on my phone. Act now and do things are usually written out and they're on Post-its on my desk. And it's like when I finish it, crumple it up and throw it away and move on and like do the next, you know?
Well, and even, I mean, what's the statistic? They say if a goal's written down, it's like however many times more likely to actually happen. I mean, writing this stuff down, you're bringing it into your life. You're making it a part of your future, or at least, you know, something that's going to accent a part of your future because, you know, you wrote it down. You took the time.
It's good preparation, and which obviously leads to easier recovery and more success. So there's like, keep track of those impressions and ideas, write those down, organize them so you can go back to them. Being organized is very, 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 very helpful. Because you can, again, like with organization, you can pay attention to the different, essentially science experiments that you're doing on yourself. Like, okay, if I meditate at this time of day, how does it make me feel? Take a note. If I meditate at night or visualize at night, how does that make me feel the next day? Take a note. And so it lets you achieve success in those science experiments that you're doing with yourself. But more than anything, I do it to keep track of ideas and ideas. And
well, and even, I mean, just writing it down, I want to go into schedules real quick. Cause like, guys, when you go back and you actually review your past week, this is where you get to look at the results of those science experiments that you're doing on yourself and say, did I actually do it? You know, okay, well, what's something that we can try this next week to see if I'll actually do it? Yeah. Like, or like for me, I'll even write stuff down for a full day. And if I don't write down like the time I'm going to do that thing, I will miss so many things. And then my week gets stacked up with things I haven't done. And learning to just, I mean, it's actually really good for your brain and your productivity to say, there's a finish line. You know, at 3 o'clock, I'm done with this and I'm moving on to this because I've only got 30 minutes to work on this today. And so I can't not work on it. And you get a little bit done every day on everything and you feel so productive. You don't feel like you're stuck in one project. And it's like, anyway, there's a million different things you can do. But if you don't write it down and you don't go back and look at those results of the experiments, you miss out on a lot of the benefit of them.
Yeah.
So Evan, I want to ask you really quick, because we got 2 more questions. We're going to wrap this up. But like, what's a big lesson that you're learning in your life? Because I feel like everybody always has something that they're just going through that they're like, that's profound. What's a big lesson you're learning right now?
I think commitment brings joy and simplicity brings joy. Those have both been on my mind for like the last year. Like I just keep coming back to mind and like keep being reinforced through different experiences.
I didn't know it'd been that long. That's so cool. It's a true principle that just keeps showing up.
Yeah. Commitment brings joy. Simplicity brings joy. And those are very similar, simplicity and commitment, but very distinct lessons to learn. I think about 2 years ago, like that phrase of commitment brings joy came to mind. And it's like, just repeated over and over and over again in different projects that I do. And the simplicity idea has been over the last year or so, like, life's simple. We make it out to be something difficult and grandiose and scary, but it's pretty straightforward.
Sure.
Family's happiness, family's very important. Connection to deity is very, very, very important. Integrity with yourself and honesty, and those are all just like eternal principles that are just true. It doesn't matter when you are alive or when you will live; those will always be true. And
I feel like all the listeners know that too. I feel like everybody's probably just agreeing, going, "Wow, I'm learning that exact same lesson."
Yeah,
because those are just repeated themes throughout life.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't matter when you lived. If you lived 200 years ago, gratitude, honesty, simplicity, and commitment were still equally important. Right. And we make it out and into this, I need to be doing all of these different things and I need to be successful in everything that I do all the time. And life's pretty straightforward. It is what you make it. And your dreams dictate your outcome.
Man, you're going to be a good dad. Oh, man. Oh, guys, that's some of the best advice you're ever going to get. But guys, we got one more thing we're going to ask Evan. And Evan, it's the thing that I ask everybody. If everybody on earth was going to see this little message here at the end, what would your message to the world be?
Keep your commitments.
Plain and simple.
That's it.
Put on his grave.
Nothing changes.
Commitments.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, and you've already explained why. I mean, it's just, guys, it's the key to happiness, commitment. I mean, and committing to find a way to really, bring that thing, whatever your life that you've been envisioning is, bringing that to fruition only comes through commitment.
Yeah, it is. It's so much self-respect to yourself. And like that phrase of keeping commitments, keep your commitments, it also means that you have to make a commitment. And it also means that you have to think about what commitment you're making, which also means that you have to think about the outcome that you want.
Yeah.
You're setting goals, you're examining your desires, and then saying, when do I want to get there? What's going to bring me there? And making a commitment to get there. So like that phrase of keep your commitments brings a lot with it. It does.
Totally.
And that's intentional.
Totally.
And so anyways, the idea behind like envisioning your future, what are your goals, what you actually want to become, and then setting a commitment to get there, and then keeping that there's a lot.
I'm positive that you've seen on Impact Theory, Tom Bilyeu, he brings on the one guest that I can never remember his name, but he talks about commitment. And, as a kid, he found a mentor who was going to help him get into real estate. And the mentor was like, well, are you interested or are you committed? Yeah. And, and he's like, what's the difference? And he's like, if you're interested, you'll find excuses. You'll blame it on your dad being a taxi driver or whatever, your mom this, or you never had these opportunities. He's like, but if you're committed, he's like, you'll find a way.
You just will
make a way.
It's the same thing with 75 Hard. You'll finish it if you want to finish it. Right. And it just comes down to like your desires. And your true self will always come out.
Yeah.
I think who you are is who you're going to always become. And people are like, why did they do that? Or why did this person do this thing? And you become who you always were.
Right.
And that's really funny because it plays into future and past. And I like that a lot, is because you become who you always were. It's like those desires that you've had will always come to fruition.
Right.
They always will. And whether you're
that's what you'll choose.
Yeah.
You will choose your desires.
Broke and poor and barely scraping by. People are like, no, I didn't choose that. You did. You did. Whether you like it or not, you chose it.
Right.
It was your desire to become rich or poor, famous or infamous.
Yeah.
It is your desire that dictates your future. It is your imagination that dictates your future. And if you can keep a commitment, that will drastically affect your outcome.
Right.
And so it's like, do you actually desire it? Are you interested or committed to this outcome? So if you can imagine it, it will become real. If you're only interested, if you're merely interested, it will not become real.
Well, and recognize the sacrifice, the law of sacrifice that goes along with that. Like if you want to get to certain places, you have to give up certain friend groups.
That's it.
And you have to get new ones. Or like if you want to like, you know, get this business going, you have to go to bed early so you can get up and work instead of going to the party. You know, it's just what you really want will come to fruition. So really nail down and figure out and visualize. Guys, the visualizing is the key. I mean, if you can actually live it now and be like, wow, how amazing is that? I mean, you'll catch on really quick about which one's more valuable to you and what you're willing to sacrifice to get there and how committed you are.
Get your physical body right.
That's a huge one.
However you do that, get it right. And I did the elimination diet. I did 75 hard. I've done so many things like testing my nutrition and like to see what affects me in certain ways. And it was just till I bucked up and said, you know what, I'm going to do this elimination diet thing. And I understand that's going to suck. And like, that's okay. I understand that I'm going without Taco Bell for 75 days. Like, that's okay.
Well, you always come down to that hard moment, day 6, when you want it so bad, but then you say, no, I'm choosing what I want in the long term. You know, you can have what you want, or you can have something better. Like, guys, you got to just, I mean, figure out what you want, stick to it. You'll have whatever you want.
Yeah. Amen.
Guys, Evan, thank you for being on the show, man. Guys, so happy we had Evan on here. Like I said, we'll probably get him on Master Cash or another podcast to either talk about God or business or whatever we're working on. But Evan, thank you for your time, and we'll have you back sometime.
Deal. Good talking, Mikey.